Coming up next on The Health Hustle.
If you want to build your personal brand, just start. Pick one platform and build your personal brand around your expertise.
How would you decide on your product?
If it's a product, like an e-commerce type thing, solve a problem. That's it. And if you're doing a service or something, I think building a brand, you have to talk about things you know, because that's the way to succeed and succeed quickly. Like, people want to see that you did something and then explain how you did it. Products are a little different because you can find a hole in the market or a problem that doesn't have a solution, or even one that does but doesn't have a great solution, and you can adapt it a little bit. So I think those are two very different things. But if you want to build a brand, talk about your expertise, and that's it. Niche down. Like you said, you're focused on fitness and health entrepreneurs in Austin.
Yep.
So yeah, like, build a product by solving a problem. That's it. Solve a problem. Fix the problem. That's it with the product. No matter what the product is, or even service. And then if you want to build a brand, focus on your expertise, become slightly better, and then talk about what you did. Do something, teach it. Do something, teach it. Do something, teach it. Like, that's how you build a brand.
Hey folks, and welcome to the Health Hustle of Austin, Texas. On the show, we uncover the big ideas from your fellow health and fitness entrepreneurs in the Austin, Texas area about how they built their business and the lessons they learned along the way. I'm your host, Corey Hibben, and on this episode, I had a chance to sit down with my boy, Devin Lofland. Devin is the self-proclaimed lazy entrepreneur who started the brand Never Rest, which is a coffee, apparel, and fitness company here in ATX. Some of the things that we get into is how his upbringing as a military child has shaped him today, what his most recent intellectual pursuits are, lessons from starting and failing his first business, the difference between building a product and building a personal brand, the future of his company and his baby, Never Rest, some of his biggest physical challenges, setting goals, a rapid-fire question round, his best advice for new entrepreneurs who are building a personal brand, and so much more. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome, and I appreciate it probably more than you know. If you haven't already, I would love it if you sent me a DM and said, "What's up?" I love hearing from people that listen to the show, and honestly, I'm always looking for feedback on how I can make the Health Hustle the kind of show that makes you want to come back again and again. Honestly, I'm trying to add as much value as possible to the people that tune in and listen to the show. Now that I got that out of the way, without further ado, my interview with Devin Lofland. Let's go.
Devin Lofland.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is deja vu from yesterday since we just sat down and did it in reverse.
I know. 5 o'clock yesterday morning, whatever time we woke up and beat the sun and all that. Yeah, it was good. It's been a long time.
Murph 63.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good workout, though. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was great to get sunrise and blood flow first thing in the morning, so I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Cool. So thanks for coming on the show. First thing I want to get into is I know the broader story of what you do with this coffee company, this apparel brand that you're obviously rocking right now, and just this obvious interest and passion for health and fitness as a whole. What I know about your background is that of doing it personally from an athletic standpoint and then also getting a degree in it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a deeper story as to why you even decided to go down that path?
I've thought about this a few times before, and I think it was one of the first things that I was good at. So my parents will talk about it, and as long back as I can remember, it's like I was running or climbing on something or whatever, and I was always doing it a little bit better than everybody else around me, which is not to brag, but that's just where I excelled. And so the harder I worked at it, it was the one thing where like I could immediately see a tangible progression. Whereas a lot of the other things I'll do, like I can see a progression, but it never came as quickly. And so you were saying this yesterday, like fitness or something physical became a part of my identity. So yeah, I don't know. It's like if I keep it in my life, I do better in everything else.
Have you ever read the book Outliers?
Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah.
That's kind of what it reminds me of, is like a lot of what they find in that is the people that kind of have the early wins in life. And then they're like, oh, like I'm kind of good at this. And then they start building an identity around it. And then that's the path they go for generally the rest of their life for the most part.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I, other than that, I don't think I have an answer. Like I just excelled at it. And we can get into this later, like you said, but I think there's, like the older I get, the harder it is to stay in fitness as an industry, but there's still these things that I want to do. A lot of my friends are in the military, or they like doing crazy shit like climbing huge mountains or rock climbing or skydiving or like whatever, and it's all physical. And so I'll see something, even something like racing cars or riding motorcycles has a physical component. And so I can take the things I've learned as an athlete and be better at those things. So I try to keep it in my life.
So do you bring that same competitive nature to all areas of your life, would you say?
Fortunately, yes.
I mean, it's good and bad, right?
Yeah.
I was actually literally just journaling about this morning about how one of the things I love about business, like I was ranking out like all the things I have in priority in my life. It's like health, relationships, and business fell really high on that list. Mm-hmm. And I've only recently discovered this over the past couple of years, and I'd be curious as to what your take on it. But I feel like business is a playing ground for intellectual pursuits versus physical pursuits.
Definitely.
Right? Is like I see sports and athletics as that physical playground to challenge yourself versus other people. And I see business as the same thing from an intellectual standpoint.
Yeah. And there's so many different components to business. It's like you can really find something you're good at. A lot of athletes tend to go into sales or marketing, depending on their personality. There's those KPIs that they can hit. And it's like learning a language or a sport. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And so, are more competitive and not necessarily more intellectual, you can find something in business like that that's good. If you're, more intellectual, you can find a different part of business, whether it's analysis or programming or whatever, and apply that the same way. So I totally agree.
I was just listening to another podcast about that, about how there was a pharmaceutical company that was hiring a bunch of salespeople, and they were specifically going after athletes. Mm-hmm. They were specifically hiring competitive people.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's how you found yourself into that same marketplace?
No, I kind of fell into it. And I like money, so I chased it down. But like my girlfriend's a great example. She played tennis at UT in her whole life, and she's one of the most competitive people I know. Never pictured her just from her personality in a sales role, and she crushes it because she sees like someone's beating me by one close or one call, or we've got to make 100 and this guy's at 90. Like I gotta go, and she loves it. So I've seen it at a lot of companies.
Yeah, because you can teach somebody how to sell and market, but to teach somebody to be competitive, I don't know that you could do that.
I don't think so.
Right. I feel like it's something that's kind of ingrained in you, especially definitely from a young age of like you grew up in this environment, whether it was your siblings or like it doesn't even have to be sports. Like I'm very competitive, but I wasn't necessarily competitive in sports because like all my sports were like solo sports. So I was competitive with myself.
Right. So
like everything for me was like, this is going to sound lame, but like golf and bowling and billiards and like they're all solo sports. So I enjoyed the endeavor of getting better at them, but not with other people so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still competitive.
Right.
You still see that bar move.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You're working a sales and marketing gig right now, but the main passion seems to be more this brand that you've built.
Never Rest has been a lot of different things, but I also started a company where I actually raised money. We did an angel raise, basically. And so I've gone down that route, and unfortunately that didn't go the way I would plan. So I don't want to do that again. I don't want to take loans. So I'm like, if I can take a year and
pause. Do you mind sharing what happened there?
Absolutely. Yeah. So got out of college, was personal training right after I graduated. And I love festivals and concerts and just events like skydiving, scuba diving, you name it. Like if it's expensive, but it's an adventure, it's awesome. So I was like, this is really expensive. I'm a broke college kid. So a whole bunch of other people, what can I do to like make this more affordable without using a credit card or getting loans or whatever? So we started an go now, pay later service that was interest free for events, concerts, festivals, all that.
Oh, I think I saw this on your LinkedIn. What was it called?
Tixpire.
That's what it was.
Yep.
I saw this. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so we did that for a while, and then I built a little bit of it myself, and then brought a business partner on in 2020, the very beginning of 2020. And in January, I think we did like 10 grand in revenue. So we had all these festivals and concerts and whatever. We signed a couple clients up and then started working with South by Southwest. And then COVID happened. And so we raised 50 grand and we were going to try to get closer to 100 in, like this initial raise. And we closed it right after everything shut down in March. So got all this money in, and it was, it lasted 2 years, but 2 years later, I was like, all these events are coming back. Like, people start spending money, whatever. I just kind of burned out. So shut that down, but that was like a real business. That was a tech business. I learned a lot.
Worst timing of all time to be in an event space.
Definitely. And we tried to like, if you were a coach and you wanted to offer something, like we had a couple of really cool partners. There's an Israeli guy here in Austin who was Israeli Defense Force, IDF. And he teaches like combat skills, right? So he'll teach you how to clear rooms and shoot guns and do Krav Maga and like all this stuff, but you have to pay $1,000 to do his class. So we integrated with his website. So we had some cool stuff like that, but it was like one person used us, you know? And then we had a couple cities that were like, yeah, next year in 2023 or 2022, we can use you guys. But 6 months later, I was like, nah.
Decided it wasn't for you. Yeah. No, I get that. Well, that's the thing we talked about yesterday was like how important it is to try and taste stuff. I mean, this was an opportunity for you obviously to go and do something that you were interested in at the time. And most people wouldn't have even taken that endeavor. So just the fact that you went down that rabbit hole of learning how to raise money and everything else that comes with that is like, I'm sure there's a ton of lessons that came from that.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, some are pretty obvious. Like don't raise money until you've got money coming in kind of things. Maybe don't raise money if you see a pandemic coming. You know, like, but yeah, I mean, I learned a lot and it was great. But that whole time, I also had this Never Rest brand, which I was just more passionate about personally. It was just kind of a message to me, whereas Tickspire was more selfish. It was like, I'm building this. I'm starting to build a team. We've got revenue. People love this. How quickly can I build this and sell it and just like be done with it and have this nest egg? And that's like all that was about. I love the events and things like that, but I wasn't as passionate about it, which is why I ended up shutting it down. So,
yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Is like, I think just the lesson that maybe anybody listening to the show could take away from that is that's like, sometimes you can ride the wave, right? Like sometimes you can see an opportunity in a marketplace that you could really I don't want to say take advantage of, but like leverage in some way to grow and sell a business if like that opportunity presents himself. Obviously this one didn't turn out that great, but I feel like there are opportunities like that. Like I recently just talked to another marketer who bought he has no interest in any way, shape or form in like soap operas, but he just saw like an opportunity in that marketplace and that he could inject basically his marketing skills to grow this and then sell it and get back out of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Right. And so like, cause I think passion is just like one of those things that it's good to keep you going for the long term, but I don't think it's always necessary if it's like a different opportunity that might present himself.
No, it's not. And I think like the brand, which has kind of just become my personal brand, is like, you don't have to love what you do. You just have to love the goal that you're pursuing. And so looking back, it still could have been successful. Like the buy now, pay later hadn't flooded the market. There weren't a whole lot of companies doing it when we started. And so like it could have continued to be something that turned into, probably a 7 or 8 figure sell later on, but I didn't want to spend the next 10 years doing it. I don't think that I cared enough about even the goal of just like building this company for the next 10 years, even if I sold it. So yeah, I mean, I think passion drives you, but I don't like that word necessarily because I don't think you have to be passionate about it. I think you just have to know what the goal is and like create this lifestyle that allows you to pursue that goal.
Totally. I mean, you have to have some direction of some form.
Yeah.
Which gets me into what I really want to talk about, which is Never Rest, which is something you are obviously passionate about because it's on your truck, it's on your shirt, it's on your hat, it's on the gifts that you gave me.
Yeah.
So
love notes.
What's the mission there? What was the motivation there? And why did you even decide to start this in the first place?
Yeah. So it was Never Quit, but that's everywhere. And like all the domain names were taken and everything else. But I thought I wanted to go to the military and go into combat medicine. I was pre-med, wanted to drop out and do this thing. Some things kind of held me back, like some medical things. So I was training to wait for these medical waivers and like working and building Tickspire and doing all of these things and just burning the candle on both ends all the time. I was like, don't stop, don't quit. Like, see all these things through. And then even every day, like today was a perfect example. I didn't go to the gym last week twice. I think I went to the gym twice last week. We were in New York and all that stuff, but coming back, it's like I haven't lifted in 6 months, so it's like that I rested and it actually kind of fucked me up. So the idea was just a sticky note on my wall to keep going. It was literally a sticky note I put on my mirror, wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and see it and be like, okay, we got to keep going. Like, this is my reminder to not hit snooze and just keep going. A buddy saw it and he's like, dude, you should put that on a t-shirt. That's pretty cool. And so it kind of evolved, but it wasn't a product. So the mission is more the brand, like teaching people how to take their goals and keep it in front of them, teaching people to really battle those moments where you want to hit snooze, where you want, like, I don't want to get up in the mornings. I don't want to work out. I don't really enjoy working out for the sake of working out, but I need it. I know it helps me. So all of those little things have to have supporting habits that will help you actually do them, because they suck. Like, nothing that you're going to want to do in life is going to not suck. It's really easy to say you want to do stuff on the couch. When you start doing it, it starts to suck, you know? So yeah, I mean, it was all about the brand and trying to get this message out to people, but that was hard to monetize. So now I'm in this phase of trying to figure out how to build a brand and tell stories and find people like you who have built stuff and done stuff and are going to continue to do cool shit and get shit done and monetize it on it if I can, you know?
Yeah, so it started as a mantra that eventually sprouted into this idea of now it's actually a brand and there's products around it.
Yeah. I did the sticky notes. I like put the license plate on my truck, and then some people saw that, and
I feel like you need the tattoo next. Do you have the tattoo yet?
I've thought about it, but we'll see. I don't know yet.
I feel like you have to at some point.
Yeah, I have a whole tattoo thing. Like, I want to do a whole tattoo, so I'm just dropping more little tattoos that's to fit into the whole piece. But that's a whole other story.
So you have tattoos as it is right now?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Are any of them mantras? Or they're all photos?
No. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like that, because it reminds me of like Ryan Holiday, right? Of like the ones that he has on his forearms.
Yeah.
Just as a personal reminder.
Right.
Of like, this is so much of what I feel like your brand is built around, is the fact of like, a lot of it's just that personal reminder of you, of like, when you want to stop, you're like, you can't, because like you've built this identity around this brand and this identity of like, I keep going no matter what.
Right. And to be honest, I'm lazy. Like,
I think we all are.
I think I'm one of the laziest people I know. Like, if I had the option to sit down and do nothing, I will do it. And so that's where it comes in. It's like, there's a bunch of different ways to say this, but like the inner bitch is going to tell you to sit down and relax and don't worry about it and whatever. And it's like, don't trust yourself in those moments. You have to be able to not trust yourself and get back up and keep going. So yeah, the mantra is just keep moving.
Yeah, I think one of the most life-changing moments for me was recognizing that like, just because I have a thought in my head doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
It's just a thought.
Definitely.
I have so much self-talk. That's one of the things I like about working out and exercise as a whole, is like, I almost enjoy watching the self-talk that happens in my head, of like you going back and forth with yourself, almost like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Of like, nope, keep going. No, I want to quit. No, I'm gonna push through this. Oh, you've done this before. Okay, one more rep. I always finish one more rep, and it's like just in your head, you're going back and forth. It's wild.
Multiple personalities.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, what made you decide on coffee then? Was that the first product that came out?
It was. So we did T-shirts. I did like a run of T-shirts. I did like custom orders. I did print on demand, just stuff like that. And I sold most of what I had, but I wasn't committed to a clothing line or anything like that. And I was like, I love coffee. I did a lot of research and found some specialty roasters that I could work with and co-pack with, basically. And it didn't cost me anything, but it's a commodity and it's kind of hard to monetize on also. So I'm
Unless you have
that.
a brand, which is the biggest thing.
Exactly.
Right.
So I've kind of developed the idea that like, no matter what, the brand will sell, and creating quality products along the way. There's a lot of people that do this. I don't know if you follow like Peter McKinnon, but he's got several brands, and he'll do just like a monthly drop of something. It'll be one item, and he'll do, a really cool quality item and sell for $500 a pop. And that's it. It's one run and it's done. So I love coffee. I love traveling, like being able to go to different countries and taste different coffees and things like that is really cool. And I'm never out of coffee, like running my own coffee company. So
it was almost like a selfish decision.
Yeah.
You're like, I love coffee. How can I have an unlimited supply of coffee and also sell it?
Yeah. And it fits the brand, so people like it. But everybody has their own opinions. It should be clothing. It should be coffee. It should be supplements. It should be energy drinks. So I think I just had to pick something. It comes with its own issues, the supply chains and things like that. But coffee's not going away anytime soon.
Not in America anyways.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because tea, I've been thinking a lot about tea lately, has been the brand I've been wanting to build. Is like same idea, the same like, excuse my prejudgments on your brand, but like a bro tea. I feel like your brand is very fitness.
Yeah.
Bro.
Definitely.
I would say. I've been wanting to do the same thing for tea because it doesn't exist. I've never seen a tea that's like pre-workout tea or testosterone boosting tea or whatever.
Right.
I don't know, some sort of like bro-y lame thing. But Yeah, I've been wanting to do the same thing for tea. I've just been thinking a lot about that lately. But it all comes back to that idea of brand, right? Which I think is so important for people to get out of this. Is like, I think you nailed it when you said of like the brand is how it started, and then the products are almost a second thought, which I think is so often the case, especially in today's world. Is like, if the brand is in line with us, then the products are almost second nature.
Yeah. And if you're starting a business, there's a couple different ways to do it. You either start with the product or you start with the brand. And if I had to give advice out, it would be start with the product, because that's so much easier. Like, you can find out if a product will sell immediately before you even build the product. And even a service, right? Like, a service might take a little longer depending on what it is. And I know you know this very well, but building a brand it takes a long time.
Definitely.
But once you have that brand, it's got a long shelf life.
Do you wish you would have started any other products other than coffee? Like, have you thought about like other angles you wanted to take with the brand?
Yeah, but I think at this point it's more about building the brand and then seeing what sticks. Because even if I was like, okay, let's just say I've got 1 million people following me in 5 years, I can start other companies with the same ideas. But I've had so much trouble, I think, just because I've built like this emotional connection to Never Rest. I have a hard time putting a product to it because I'm not proud enough of that product, no matter what it's been. Like, I don't like putting my name on that product unless it's perfect. And I'm like, well, I don't want it to just be clothing. I don't want it to just be coffee. I don't want it to be whatever. So it's more about the story and then putting other products into the brand later.
I feel like the person who's done it better than anyone I've ever seen in my life is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Mm-hmm. His personal brand, as you could call it, he could sell anything. Yeah. And it will sell out for billions of dollars. Yeah. Right? I mean, he's done it with tequila and energy drinks and clothing lines and everything in between, right? Yeah. And so he's by far been the master of that. But like, it's also worth recognizing that he's been building that brand for 15 years, something like that.
His whole life, yeah.
I mean, since he started in the World Wrestling Organization or whatever it was.
40 years, honestly.
Yeah. Is he that old? I have no idea how old he is. Is he in his 50s?
I think so, if not a little older.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. So then have you put any thought into where you would go with this brand then? And like, what would be the next steps? And like,
a lot.
Okay.
A lot. And I have ideas, and I've gotten to the point where it's like execute and then tell.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, the coffee's not going away entirely. I like putting out clothing and things like that. Like, people will find designs that I do, and I think just finding the most successful designs, and they'll just stay on the website, or they'll be seasonal or whatever. That stuff won't go away. But really, it's the YouTube channel. I've tried to learn how to be better at just like making content that matters to people. And some of that is podcasts, some of that is challenges, some of that is just like random shit that I do. But yeah, so the focus is on the YouTube, and then I'll put out, apparel and coffee and things like that.
What's the biggest challenge you've done at this point, physically or mentally?
We did an Ironman. That was probably the hardest physical thing I've ever done. We've done a couple other similar things. We did this like 48-hour challenge. 4x48, I think. It's a David Goggins challenge. Like, every 4 hours you run 4 miles for 48 hours.
So wait, are you getting up in the middle of the night and running 4?
Yeah.
What?
That was kind of stupid.
That's super stupid.
Yeah.
That's a classic, no offense to Goggins, but that's a classic Goggins thing.
Exactly. It was really like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've done some shit like that. And
you actually did it though? You ran every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Yeah. I had a couple other guys here in Austin that we all did together. And we had some really cool people join us along the way at like 6 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever time intervals it was. They'd come run 4 miles with us, because it really wasn't that hard to run 4 miles.
Did they know what you were doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we posted on Instagram, and we'd meet people along the way, because a whole bunch of people in Austin were doing it. Like, people got hotels along the trail downtown.
What?
Yeah.
Was this like a whole community event, or was it just you guys? Just
I
you
think
guys
in
posting
total.
about it?
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple other like I don't know if you know Tanya. Forgot her last name, but she runs like a run club here.
Yes.
And she was doing it. So she had her own group, and then we had our group, and people would swap along the way. Zach from Live a Great Story.
Yeah.
He joined us a couple times, so it was cool. Like, we'd had a couple of really dark, literally dark hours, in the middle of the night. I think one of our buddies ended up in the hospital. Like it was it was a mess. Yeah, dude. But that was hard. I think the Ironman was harder. It was just longer distance, longer commitment, things like that. And yeah, I mean, just building the business, I've learned a lot, and a lot of it is super simple. Just pick something and stick with it relentlessly until it's successful.
What would you say is the most expensive mistake you've made at this point with the business? And that could be monetarily or emotionally.
I haven't made a whole lot of big mistakes with Never Rest, and I think it's because we spent so much money on Tixpire, which was the ticketing business. Like that was a huge financial loss in total over 3 years, because we shut it down. So I think a lot of those things I learned, it's like, as long as it takes, I'll build this as organically as possible. But I have pissed away a lot of marketing money on just little things like stickers and ads and, like free t-shirts and stuff like that. I think the best way to put it is just like, if you're going to do marketing for a product, pick an avenue and stick with it. Just like building a brand, right? If you're going to try to be on social, pick one platform and stick with it. And so what I've done is I've done a lot of different things, a little bit, and never really gotten this depth of like running Facebook ads or YouTube ads or affiliate marketing or like all these different things. But the good thing is I've got the data, if nothing else, to say, okay, like this worked best, or I got the most personal value out of this with the affiliates. No one really made me any money. But I've got this network now where I can reach out in a year and say, we're going to do a drop this month. Can I send you some and like have you create content and then run ads to that or whatever? So yeah, I mean, I've wasted a lot of marketing dollars for sure.
It's also testing too, depending on how you look at it. Cause like you're not really sure what's going to work. I love stickers, for the record, and thank you for the stickers.
Yeah.
I think those are massively underestimated. I talk about a lot of this from both the product and the service-based business of, even for me right now, as I'm growing a newsletter, I've been thinking a lot about just like how stickers actually work great as like giveaways or incentives for people to sign up. It's the silliest thing in the world to think that stickers work, but they do. I literally walk the Ladybird Trail like almost every single day. And if you've noticed, all the stickers are on there, but like that triggers in my brain, whether I realize it or not. When I see those stickers walking the trail, like for some reason that clicks with people. They're like, oh yeah, there's that brand again. And so like it just keeps it top of mind. So don't underestimate the stickers. Of all the things you've done though, from t-shirts, stickers, advertisements, affiliates, like what would you rank at the top?
I think the stickers are great. So again, Zach from Live a Great Story, like I've talked with him a lot, and he pushed the sticker thing on me because that was like his specialty for a while. He's like, he tried to do this whole sticker marketing thing.
Well, he does stickers and like the giant, like,
yeah,
would you call it a spray painting? I don't even know what you would call it, but like,
I honestly don't know if mine is still up, but
it is. I've seen it.
Yeah, under the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's wheat pasted, basically, graffiti, and there's kind of an art to it. Like you can't just throw a brand up and have people see it. I had the Keep Battling slogan up, but yeah, stickers are great. Like you said, they're relatively cheap. If you get good ones, they'll cost you, up to $1 a piece, and they'll last forever. Like they're weatherproof or whatever. So I think if you can tie something to your brand that's subliminal, then people will just be like, that's fucking cool. And then they'll start to see it more. So for example, I've got like on my water bottle, I've got this Get Shit Done sticker, and I've tested, I haven't gotten a whole lot of results because you just kind of see them every little bit. I put my brand really small on the bottom of some and then didn't put it on others. And I've seen both. I'll just be walking by at a gym, one of the many gyms in Austin, and just see like a sticker, a Get Shit Done sticker on a water bottle or a laptop or whatever. And people that have never heard of me, never seen the brand, like whatever, they just like the sticker. And so when they see the brand in an ad or something, like, hey, I think I've seen that before. And then it's on their laptop or water or whatever. So I think that's been awesome. But again, it takes a while to build that up.
It takes forever, but it's arguably the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
It's like I was saying before we started recording, I just posted about that today. I was literally just talking about you, about how just the value of being able to build a brand. And I remember when I first started getting into marketing, I used to think that marketing or brands or quote unquote, what is a brand? Most people would say like logo, colors, design, but it's not what it is at all. Really what a brand is it's a feeling and it's a reputation, and it's what people think and feel about you, especially when you're not around. And so like those people that are putting that Get Shit Done sticker on their stuff is like, that makes them feel something.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not something you can build. It's something that they assign to you.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So I think along those same lines, I've done a couple things where like we'll do a community event. And I haven't done this for Never Rest yet, but for Tickspire, we did, the problem was COVID. We found a way to do like this scavenger hunt, and we would hide little clues around downtown, and whoever could get through it first would win free event tickets or whatever. And there was no financial return for it, but we got, at the end of 2020, when COVID was still kind of happening, we got like 20 people out to do this thing that had no idea who we were or who each other were or whatever. And they had a blast. Like we all had mimosas and stuff afterwards, and they loved it. And so being able to know that you're not going to get this financial return up front and build that brand through stickers, through events, through just showing up and like taking pictures with people or doing videos or whatever, it builds that connection also.
Definitely. This is something I've been wanting to talk to you about how, as somebody who's done running every 4 hours or Ironmans and athletic adventures and skydiving and all these challenging things, I just want to tap into really quick of like what you feel like the overlap is between health and fitness and how you've seen that show up in your own life. And like, do you feel like you need to continue to do those crazy adventurous things?
Yeah, absolutely. I have mental issues, and that's how I deal with them. It's funny. I don't think that I care as much about health, sadly. I do still think a lot about going back to medical school and things like that. So health is a big component. For instance, if I were to do that, I wouldn't be the doctor that prescribed first. I would work very hard to be able to build, and I know this isn't possible, especially initially in every healthcare practice, but to have a more holistic approach. And so I think that I just can't get on board with a lot of the like biohacking and stuff like that. I think a lot of it's BS, but there's also the other side where like medicine won't fix everything. You've got to do the work. And so I fall very much in the middle. And I think there's a very important delineation between health and fitness. Like you were saying earlier, they're not the same, and both of them have bad sides, but it's been a huge part of my life. And I know the difference. I got 6 maybe hours of sleep last night, for example. And I know that I feel different between 6 and 9 hours. And a lot of my life, I've gotten 6 hours of sleep. It's not healthy. When you really look at it, it's like, could you spend the extra 2 hours maybe just sleeping and then be way more effective? And that's a good example for anything. If you work out, you'll feel better. If you work out too much, it's a distraction. Like you're killing yourself. If you're focusing too much on your health, are you really being productive? Like if your morning routine is 12 hours, are you really getting anything done? So yeah, they're important factors, and I've stayed close to them because I just think it's cool. I think biohacking to a certain degree is cool, but there's also just really simple things that you can do. Just make sure you're hydrated. Just work out every little bit.
I just recently had I think I might have told you about this. Took a trip with a group of guys out to the Smoky Mountains. There was 12 of us. We did a bunch of like hiking and yoga and meditation and played spike ball and went through the mountains and whatever, all these great things. And it was interesting because like we're talking about this idea of like fitness and health and like how those things don't necessarily overlap.
Yeah.
And it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. And I'd be curious as to then what your answer is because I asked these guys on the trip of like, why do you exercise? Why do you work out? Why are you doing? One of my buddies bought like a bunch of resistance bands, and we're typical bros, right? We're doing curls, and we're like putting them around a bar, and we're doing like rows and pull-ups and all this other crap.
Yeah.
And so I brought that question up. I was like, what is your motivators for working out? And some of them said like, well, I want to be strong, or I want to look good naked, or I just want to be healthy, right? Like those were the drivers. I don't know if they're true or not. I questioned them. I didn't necessarily believe they were true, but I'd be curious as to you of like where you fall as to like, what is the motivator then if it's not health, like you were saying? Because like I know for me, and I would say this is true for most people who initially get into fitness, it's literally just to freaking look good naked. I feel like for most people, is like a driver, or a confidence. I think is a big one too for a lot of people. But like I'd be curious as to where that stems for you.
Yeah, I went kind of tangent on your first question. They were kind of the same. My point was I don't think I'd care too much about health, and it's not true because I want longevity in my life, and that is an important factor. But it's not as immediately motivating. And I think it's true. I think like I'm prone to depression and anxiety and things like that. Like my dad was in the military, and you just like see things that you learn how to deal with in life or from your parents or whatever. And fitness has tended to be the thing that keeps me level. I love just doing crazy shit. I really enjoy like the skydiving and the motorcycles and, you know, shooting guns and just like the challenges to see what I'm capable of. I think it's more of one of those things is like, that's really cool. Can I do that? Which is why like not everything I do is about working out. I probably could run 100 miles. I'm not sure, but I don't know if I care enough to know to really commit to something like that. Right. But there are, you know, like snowboarding. I don't know if I could like do a backflip while I snowboard. I have no idea. That's way more interesting to me. And you need the fitness, and I like being strong and big and all that, but like I'm not naked that often, you know, so I don't know that that's a driver.
We live in
either.
Texas. What do you mean?
Yeah, they don't like it when you run around naked. So yeah, you know, that's a long answer to your question, but like I just enjoy it. Some of it I just enjoy. It's just what drives me. If I could not worry about money and just like go do whatever I wanted to do, I'd probably be out. I'd probably like Keanu Reeves posted this the other day. It's like I'd probably wake up, have sex, ride a motorcycle, like eat food, ride a motorcycle again. Like that'd be my life. I would just do that. I'd explore, I'd travel.
Wait, that's what he said he would do? Why doesn't he do that? I feel like he can do that.
He probably does.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just making sure.
Yeah, it was just funny. He like, you know, it was really repetitive, but
yeah,
he had like 6 things he wanted to do, you know, and that was his ideal day. So yeah, I like building stuff unrelated, but they're just things that I like to do. And then in the fitness aspect, it's like there are things, if I have a day when I don't work out, I'm irritable, I'm like anxious, I have these weird swings in my energy, and like if I can just go for 20 minutes and do something, I'm more level. So that's more of like I know I need it. And it's just one thing I enjoy. I enjoy when I feel strong and big and all these things much more than when I'm not doing something.
I have found a trend in a lot of the people that I've talked to and most of them are business owners, obviously, is that they're often pretty anxiety-ridden people that have just found unique ways to harness that. And it's usually in 2 outlets. It's those exact same things that we started this conversation with. It's some sort of physical endeavor, fitness, working out, lifting weights, Ironmans, whatever, name your thing. Or it's the playground of business. Like that's how they basically manage this like excess energy, I guess you could say, of like having some way to inject it into a healthy manner into society. I feel like it's such a common trait with the people I talk to.
Yeah. I think most people are that way. Yeah, that's a whole different rabbit hole. But I think that most people would benefit from that. And it's, you know, goes back to that level of discipline where it's like, maybe there's a day where I can't work out. But for instance, we went to New York and our flight left at 5 a.m. So I'm not going to work out before we land. It's a really long trip, like whatever. I'm probably not going to work out after we land, but maybe I can go on like a really intense walk or do some push-ups or something. And there might be days like that are very few and far between, but even just the walking around New York was enough to like expend a little energy where I wasn't anxious or freaking out or whatever. I could just let whatever happens happen. And I think that most people would benefit from finding that thing for themselves.
Yeah, I know we talked about this yesterday of like, that's for me has been like the initial goal of like every single day then is like having some form of movement. Again, I was just journaling about this the other day about like, what are the things that would make a great day for me? And like, they're the most basic things of all time, right? They're like, eat some good and healthy, delicious food, and have some sort of movement or physical activity, have some sort of creative outlet of like where I'm like trying to challenge myself. Like they're the most basic things that if I just check those boxes every single day, I know I can go to bed that night and be like, all right, that was a good day. Like I could do that again tomorrow.
I have had, especially with stuff like the Ironman, points in my life where it's become a distraction. So like for instance, college, like I wanted to go to the Olympics and then that wasn't going to happen. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to the military, right?
Olympics in what sport?
Track.
Okay.
And that was like a high school dream. But it got to the point where it's like, there are some points where that can be your main focus. And I've let them be a distraction. And I totally lost my train of thought. But
no, I'm in the same category. It's for a long time. I didn't recognize that I was using physical endeavors as procrastination to the things that I should be doing.
Right.
I did that for a long time.
But it was not only checking a box, it was like exerting myself to a certain level, right? And so when it wasn't a distraction, like that was, like I said earlier, that tangible growth. And now that might be a distraction, doing something like an Ironman. But whether it's fitness or learning a new skill, JavaScript, you're in school learning organic chemistry or law or whatever, like that daily, you have to check the box and then you have to push it a little further every day. And that can be in fitness, that could be in, a specific skill that you're learning. But that's what fitness has been for me. I'll have cycles where I'm like, okay, everything's kind of stagnant. Let's turn it on and move on. And I'll do an Ironman, or I'll do just a marathon, or I'll do, a bodybuilding program or whatever. And I have to see that growth. And I think that fitness is the confidence builder that lets me see that fastest.
Your next one is a marathon, right?
Yeah.
And that's coming up.
That's the end of January.
That's the one here in Austin?
It's in Miami.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think you might have told me that the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't there one in here in Austin in January as well?
I think it's February.
February, that's what it is. So you're going to do both, right?
I'm not gonna do both.
Come on, man. That's the real challenge.
I just finished a powerlifting cycle, and I've never really powerlifted before, but I enjoyed that way more than running.
Do you care sharing your numbers?
It was sad.
I doubt it. Go for it.
So we went from the Ironman, did some rehab for the first half of the year, and I was kind of at this point where I was like, I need something, right? Like everything's kind of becoming stagnant.
What do you weigh?
just
Like
see.
$165?
178 right now.
78. Damn.
178.
Thick boy. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So my goal, this was impossible. My goal in 16 weeks, basically going from nothing, was to deadlift 600 pounds.
Whew.
I jumped it too quickly, and I only ended up pulling 485.
Okay.
So it was okay. It wasn't even quite a PR. It was just like 15 pounds short of a PR. But yeah, I mean, 16 weeks, like not really doing anything, and then 16 weeks, pretty much PRing on everything else. It was good. So the deadlift was 485, the bench press was 365, and the squat, I didn't max out, but I was doing sets at 405.
What's the pinnacle of the things you would like to achieve from a physical pursuit?
In an ideal world,
Yeah.
next year I would deadlift 700. I think that's just on my list.
Are you pretty dialed into that?
Yeah.
Where's your confidence level on like a 0 to 10?
Timeline, I don't know. If I could do it, I'm sure I could do it.
I like that. I like that mentality. Because you said the word 700 to me, and the story that immediately clicked in my head was like, I could never, ever do that. But in your head, you're probably thinking like, yeah, I could do it with enough time.
Exactly.
Interesting. Are you like that with everything?
I am now. I think I am now. And I've had to learn the hard way to be that way. But yeah, I've kind of given in to just like, I've got to pick something and see it through. And whatever it takes. I'd rather be good at one thing at the end of my life. Say I check that box than like trying all these different things and not being good at anything.
So then on the flip side of that, what's the pinnacle from a business and entrepreneurship standpoint? Do you have like, is it a financial goal? Is it a reputational goal? Like, is it accolades? What is it?
There's a number that I'd like to hit, and then I can really reevaluate where I want to go with my life.
You would like to, or you will?
That's a good question. I have a really hard time with that. I will build a big brand. That's my next thing.
Okay.
And I would like to.
Words matter, man.
Yeah, I would like to get that to a number, but I think the brand is more important to me. Having built something that people are, have kind of tied their identity to, I've found that that's more important to me. I just like that better. Like I said, just walking around seeing the stickers. It's a really small thing, but walking around seeing your t-shirts and then seeing people watching your videos and then going to an event that you organize that has 1,000 people that you've never met. Like that's cool to me.
Have you started getting recognized yet?
No.
No. I just started getting that recently.
That's awesome.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's funny weird.
They're just like at the store buying toilet paper and they're like, hey, I know
Yeah.
you from somewhere.
Yeah. It's happened a few times.
Like Matthew McConaughey, right?
Yeah. It's happened a few times. Like not that long ago, I was at Zilker Park and somebody came up and they recognized me and followed the content and listened to the show. And yeah, it's really cool. I could see though how like people who get like uber famous,
Yeah.
how that I now can empathize, not because I'm like uber famous, but because like I could see how if like I just want to be on a walk by myself for a while, like that's cool as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Well, that's a different level.
Yeah.
Congrats. I think that's awesome. Because you've got, what, 75 episodes on just the podcast now?
So you and I right now would be 73.
Yeah.
I did a number of them before that leading up to this of like ones that I actually just never even published because like there's just such a learning curve to being able to learn to create content, as you obviously know from the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, there's a huge learning curve leading up to like really publishing something that I felt like I could put my name on. But yeah. I want to get into really quickly, just a really small tap on this, because I saw it on your LinkedIn profile that you apparently learned Arabic.
Yeah, I grew up a military kid, spoke many different languages growing up for a very short period of time. It's like we lived in Italy and then moved back to the States. And so I picked up languages very quickly. And when I was going through college, it was either like take a language or take another physics course. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to the military. Why don't I just learn Arabic now? So yeah, I minored in Spanish and Arabic language.
And you never went to the military?
Never went to the military.
Did you have bad taste in your mouth because of your father or what?
My parents were very pissed when I said I wanted to go to the military. Like I probably could have come home and said anything else because I wanted to drop out. And I remember like, guys, I want to talk to you. Let's sit down and talk. And they're like, oh shit, like he's killed someone or like he stole something or like he's marrying a man or, you know, like which isn't a problem, but like all of those things.
Sure.
And I was like, I want to drop out and go to the military. And my dad was like, oh, what have I done?
You could have done anything else.
Yeah. So yeah, they were pretty pissed, but then they were very supportive. And for what I wanted to do, I just had to have LASIK surgery. But once I did that, I had to wait 2 years for a contract. And at that point, I'd already started a business. I'd started making, I was in a 6-figure job. And I was like, I don't know if I want to like stop this right now to go restart everything. But yeah, I still think about it every day. I'm actually very close with a lot of military people. I respect it. Like still have a lot of pride in my country. And I think a lot of those things are very important to me. But I don't know if I'll go or not.
How old are you?
27.
Okay. Because you can go to what, 34 or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's a commitment. And like, that's why I hold so much respect for the people that go in. It's a major commitment for so many things. Financially, like your time's no longer yours. It's a lot. And once you sign the contract, like that's what you do. Mm-hmm. So if it's something, whether it's medicine or the military or another business, like I've got to be 110% in on that and that alone.
There was a small window of time where actually I almost went into the military. It was immediately after graduate school. I was telling you the other day I graduated with a master's in occupational therapy. Yeah. And I could have gone into the military as an OT in orthopedics, treating soldiers. But at the time, there was like no incentive. Not only was there no incentive, I almost, if I remember correctly, I wouldn't have even got a GI Bill.
Really?
Yeah, which I was like, what? No?
Exactly.
Like, that's absolutely not. Like,
exactly.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
But I have no regrets around it, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I didn't, just because, like, I don't want to be told what to do is a really big issue that I have, which is why I don't work well with others.
Yeah. That's fair.
So, yeah, I have no regrets around just knowing my personality type is, like, it wouldn't have gone well for me. But
yeah.
Nothing against you, for sure, but...
I think there's a lot of different types of people that go in, and a lot of them are legacy. Their family was in, you know, or they had no other options. I know a couple guys that like went into the Marines because it was that or jail. And then there's people that just want to do it. They're patriots and they want to go be in special operations, or they want to go be pilots or whatever. And that's what they want. And I wasn't really any of those people. So the job that I wanted to do, I still think about a lot. But like you said, it's like, okay, could I maybe build a business and help vets as they get out and transition? Could I be more effective as maybe a doctor someday and then work with the military as a civilian? Like there are these other things where it's like, what do you really want? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get that? And is it the military? Is it medicine? Is it a business? Is it being an influencer? Like whatever. And what are you willing to sacrifice for it? Like, can you do something that will get you to that goal better than just like picking the closest door?
Yeah, I would argue that from you building a brand and also now this YouTube channel, that just from an impact level, I would argue would be far more powerful than maybe anything you could do in the military. From a reach standpoint, maybe not a direct impact on a human being, because obviously one-on-one could be incredibly powerful for anyone.
Yeah.
But like from a reach standpoint, it's hard to argue with the power of content right now.
Yeah. And I mean, you can do that while you're in the military.
That's true.
So there are some guys like Nick Bear's a great example.
Sure.
He built his company when he was in. The Black Rifle Coffee guys, like they've built something nobody else has ever done before just because they...
Dude, that is the perfect example of a brand.
Yeah.
It's coffee.
Yeah.
It's the same thing you did, right?
Exactly.
It's like they built a brand, which people could get on board with. Mm-hmm. Something that's mission driven, that people want to back up, and then you sell products behind it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I have a round of rapid fire questions for you.
Oof. And these like one word answers?
It can be whatever you want.
Okay.
I've had it go both ways. I've had some people that I couldn't get to shut up, and I was like, you don't understand what a rapid fire question is. And then there are people that want answers. It's whatever clicks in your brain. First question: best business advice.
Focus on what you really, really want, and then see if you can turn it into a business. But make sure that you're committed to that idea or product or service or brand before you're committed to what you can make out of it. If your goal is to make money, then just like make that your goal. But a lot of people that chase that don't end up happy with that. But yeah, I mean, you can make money in real estate and investments and programming, like whatever. If that's your goal, that's fine. But if you want to build a business, focus on the idea and get there however you can.
I like that. I think it's a matter of like being honest with yourself.
Yeah,
totally. Best marketing advice.
Build a brand. Talk to your people. That could, you can spend money on it. You can just focus on slow growth, but yeah, build a brand because people will buy into brands. Richard Branson's a great example.
Virgin,
Marvel versus DC is a great example. Like everybody knows who Stan Lee is because he was Marvel. He's Spider-Man. He's like all these other people in DC couldn't compete with that because he built this brand. He talked directly to his customers. He was like, hey guys, it's Stan. And so when they wrote him letters, they said, hey Stan, like, here's a letter. Whereas DC, it was Dear Editor or whatever. So build a brand, talk to your customers, talk to the people that you want to work with.
Yeah, I think we often talk a lot about like scaling, and people underestimate like the power of doing the things that don't feel scalable. Like writing a letter to somebody or having a personal relationship with somebody or starting a DM conversation with somebody is like that can feel like, how could I possibly scale this? But like, I think people underestimate of the importance of just like 1,000 true fans. Favorite part about entrepreneurship?
The time freedom. If you do it right, it's more about the time freedom.
When are you the most productive?
Depends on what I'm doing. I would say the morning. I'm not a morning person, but the morning.
You're not a morning person, but that's when you're the most productive. That's interesting.
It's this really tiny little window between like 11:30 and 12. Not literally, but yeah, if I get up, get my ass up, have some coffee, do some work. Yeah.
Live in the brand.
Yep.
Who's your inspiration?
I have a few, but in business, I love what Richard Branson's done.
Why?
He took something really simple and just like tied himself to it and built a multi-billion-dollar brand doing what he enjoyed and had fun with.
Define simple.
He started with a magazine and then built that, like totally flying by the seat of his pants, figured it out, and then turned that into a record label and turned that into an airline, and then did a whole bunch of other things that were multi-billion-dollar businesses and made them work. And I mean, these are his words. Like, he's like, I'm not that smart. I just figured it out, got the right people, kept pushing, and made it happen.
Yeah, I'd also say too is like he did a really good job of staying authentic and true to who he was, which I think is a big reason for his success. Because like he's arguably one of the best PR people I've ever seen in my life. Is he just does exactly what you're doing with the YouTube channel. Is like he just does the shit that he's excited and interested in, and then like broadcasts it to the world. And people are like, holy shit, he's like driving a tank down the street.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah. He did some sketchy shit. That's for sure. Like,
oh yeah, he's a nutball. But that's why it worked.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I feel like oftentimes, this isn't always true, but you see it a lot of like people who seem to do really well in that PR world or the content world or whatever it is. They kind of have a screw loose, which is entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's not a requirement, but it is common. What's one secret or something that most people don't know about you?
I'm lazy.
Hit snooze in the morning?
Sometimes. I really try not to. Put my phone outside of my room, so I have to walk over and get it. Yeah, I'm actually pretty lazy.
That's interesting that your motto is so speaking to like your inner bitch, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Like shower thoughts. Just like keep moving. I caught myself standing there for like 30 seconds. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get out of the shower. Like, what are you doing? You have shit to do.
What would you change about yourself?
I'd be less lazy.
I knew you were going to fucking say that. What does success mean to you?
I think just really, really pushing myself to end every day saying I'm happy with what I did. I'm, for the most part, satisfied with what I did today. I didn't waste a lot of time. I actually did things that were productive. Like at the end of my life being like, I accomplished these things and I don't have to look back and say I could have done more, no matter what it is. It's not really financial. It's not building a brand. It's just like, okay, I know I can do it physically. Can I do things that are more intellectually challenging, like building a brand or, getting another degree or like whatever. Just setting my mind to a goal and accomplishing it by any means necessary.
When were you the happiest?
It's kind of hard to answer. I've had a lot of really happy moments. I had a great time in college. Could have done better in school.
Same.
So like I wish I'd done a few things there better, but I had great times. So I tried to take those things that made me happy and apply them today. I've been really happy over the past year and a half, 2 years. Got into a rut, and that's why I signed up for the Ironman. And so after that, I just haven't gone back into that rut because I know what caused it. And trying to put all those things together. So
what caused it?
Stagnancy.
Just like not having a goal?
Yeah. Yeah. I was building to expire. COVID was happening, like all these things. Some of them uncontrollable, but also some of them just like not doing what I should have been doing. So yeah, I think I've probably been the happiest at a couple points in college and maybe towards the end of high school, kind of ran together. And then over the past like year and a half, 2 years.
What's your favorite part about Austin?
The people, for sure. Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that's the answer I get.
That's why I'm still here.
It's interesting. Yeah, I was just talking to my buddy Bray, shout out to him, about how it's hard to argue that when it comes to health and fitness, not that those are the same thing, a better place to be.
Yeah.
Right now anyways. It could change, but just kind of where we're at in the world. I have one more question, but before I ask that question, I just want to acknowledge you for just really being authentic and true to the brand that you're building, and also being honest about the fact that you're lazy and how so much of this brand is built in the back to the fact of you're trying not to be lazy.
Yeah.
And you're trying not to hit snooze or stand in the shower and do nothing.
Yeah.
And I also just want to acknowledge too, for you to go all in on the YouTube thing, because I know the challenge of something like that and like all the self-limiting beliefs behind that. I hope you continue to do the YouTube channel, and I hope it grows into this amazing thing. And yeah, I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm following people like you. So following your footsteps. Thanks for leading the way.
Yeah, man. Thanks. So last question. Before I ask that question though, where can people find you? Where can people find out more about you? Obviously, Never Rest. You have a coffee brand. You have an apparel brand.
Yep.
Where can they find you?
Everything is Never Rest. NVR REST. So Instagram, YouTube. I don't really do a whole lot on LinkedIn or Twitter or anything else. But yeah, I mean, Instagram and YouTube, and our website, neverrest.com.
Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. Last question. So if you were to start over with this brand from ground zero, or anybody else was thinking about starting a business, whether it's a coffee business or a brand or a fitness business or something along those lines in that world, what's maybe the best piece of advice you can give them? Or you can take the alternate approach of like, what's the advice you would give yourself back on day one of when you decided to start this?
Yeah, if I could go back, I would just start with the YouTube channel. Now it's a little bit different because it's saturated, and it's just like anything else. It's going to take some time, but it's easier to look back and be like, 6 years ago, I could be at this place now.
Sure.
So yeah, if I could go back and tell myself, I'd be like, start this YouTube channel, and here's why. And if I started over today, honestly, I would probably just pick a product. I would probably pick a product and build my personal brand later. But if you want to build your personal brand, just start. Pick one platform and build your personal brand around your expertise.
How would you decide on your product?
If it's a product, like an e-commerce type thing, solve a problem. That's it. And if you're doing a service or something, I think building a brand, you have to talk about things you know, because that's the way to succeed and succeed quickly. Like, people want to see that you did something and then explain how you did it. Products are a little different because you can find a hole in the market or a problem that doesn't have a solution, or even one that does but doesn't have a great solution, and you can adapt it a little bit. So I think those are two very different things. But if you want to build a brand, talk about your expertise, and that's it. Niche down. Like you said, you're focused on fitness and health entrepreneurs in Austin.
Yep.
So yeah, like, build a product by solving a problem. That's it. Solve a problem. Fix the problem. That's it with the product. No matter what the product is, or even service. And then if you want to build a brand, focus on your expertise. Become slightly better, and then talk about what you did. Do something, teach it. Do something, teach it. Do something, teach it. Like, that's how you build a brand.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I honestly would have said the same thing about both things. Even from the product standpoint, is like walk through any grocery store and you're going to find a million trash products that you can improve upon. And then to your point about the brand piece of it is like, yeah, learn stuff and then talk to the person you once were. Person that was you 6 months ago, you 1 year ago, you 2 years ago.
Yep.
Like talk to that person because obviously you're 2 years ahead of that person.
And the harder the thing that you did, the faster you'll grow in terms of your brand. So Alex Hormozy is a great example. He was an unknown name, and then in the last 2 years has become one of the most famous people in business, fitness, like you name it, because he reached $100 million basically by himself before he ever put out a piece of content. So like you see that number and you're like, holy shit, that's a lot. I want to learn how to do that. So in a year and a half, he's gotten close to like 2 or 3 million subscribers across all platforms.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like all this energy that's been built up over the last 10 years of grind. And then it just like exploded in this nuclear bomb of like what he is now.
Yeah.
Crazy. Appreciate you being on the show.
Dude, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for listening to the show, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. Before you go, I only have one ask of you, and that would be to check out my 3 Tips Tuesday newsletter. It's 3 marketing tips every Tuesday that is specific for the health and fitness professional to help them market and grow their business. If you press the link in the description, it will take you to the archive of all my previous posts, and you can decide for yourself if it's something for you. If you find it helpful in any way, you can just sign up for the newsletter on that page, and then you'll get the weekly 3 Tips Tuesday in your inbox every week. Thanks again, and keep hustling, my friends.